Welcome to the Strategic Mind tutorial. In this operation, you will learn how to deploy and move your troops, attack the enemy, and be victorious. If you're new to this genre and have not played many turn-based war games, we advise you to complete all the tutorial operations. You can skip any message by clicking on it with the left mouse button. Units under your command are listed in the Units panel at the bottom of the screen. To the left, you can find the mini-map, which will help you to quickly get your bearings in battle. All objects are marked with the corresponding color. Your units are green, allied units are blue, and the enemies are red. In the Units panel at the bottom of the screen, you can see the unit that is currently selected, the tank. Open its unit info screen by clicking on the highlighted button. The unit info screen contains all the key data about the selected unit. Under the unit picture, you can see its strength. Both the unit's health and damage output depend on the strength. The lower the strength, the less damage the unit will deal to the enemy. If the strength reaches 0, the unit is destroyed or forced to retreat. The unit's combat parameters are listed at the top right corner. The higher they are, the better. With the mouse over the combat parameter, you will see a hint with a list of all bonuses and penalties to that parameter at the moment for this unit. Now click on the highlighted parameter. This is more detailed information on how this parameter works. Now close the tab. Right under the combat parameters, you can see the unit's equipment panel, and additional equipment that your units can employ in battle. Underneath it, you can see the skills panel. There are a number of passive and active skills unique for every unit class. Infantry has one set of skills, tanks have another, and so forth. When hovering over any skill, you can see a hint explaining how it works. The unit's class is indicated right above its picture. There you can see its model name as well. You can always change a model name to a custom entry by clicking on it. Now close the unit info screen. It is high time for troops deployment. Every operation starts with the deployment phase, during which you deploy your troops. Look at the highlighted hex. It is a deployment hex. You can deploy your unit, now deploy the rest of your troops. Great, now your army is ready to do battle. Click on the End Deploy button to begin the operation. In the top left corner of the screen, you can see a list of your primary and secondary objectives for this operation. Above, you can also see a victory progress bar. This bar indicates how well your troops are doing in the operation. At the top right corner of the screen, you can find the Command Points button. Command Points are used for troop embarkation on air, naval, or train transport, or for the use of headquarters skills. Special abilities giving various tactical advantages to your forces. You can click on it to see the HQ skills available. You will learn more about it in another part of the tutorial. To the left, you can find the Prestige button. Prestige is a resource you use to acquire more troops and equipment for them. Select the tank by clicking on it with your left mouse button. To the right in the Unit Actions panel, you can see the Embarkation and Headquarters skills buttons. Below, you can see the active skills if there are any. In the case of naval units or armored trains, the different parts of the ship or train are also displayed here. The hexes where your unit can move to are highlighted. Now move your tank to the designated hex by clicking on it with the right mouse button. Usually, units can move and attack only once per turn. However, there are a number of exceptions to this rule, which will be presented at the later stages of the tutorial. Units can attack either before or after their movement. Select the infantry unit. As you can see, the infantry has fewer movement points than the tanks. To solve this problem, infantry can be equipped with select the artillery unit and move it to the designated hex. Your troops have moved to an advantageous position and are ready to storm the city on your next turn. Now, your tank can already start firing at the enemy troops. Select the tank unit, move your mouse over the enemy unit, and when you see the cursor change to a target symbol, click on it with the right mouse button. All of your units have finished their turn. Click the End Turn button. Ahead is the city occupied by the enemy troops. Onward! Move your infantry to the designated hex to identify the enemy forces. Select the artillery to make a preliminary bombardment of the enemy positions. Select the infantry unit again and attack the enemy in close combat. Select the tank and finish off the enemy unit. It is time your troops occupy the victory hex. It is marked with a golden color. Congratulations, you have successfully finished the operation. Now you have the victory screen in front of you. It presents a detailed breakdown of the operation. In the leftmost column, you can see the information on your victory points and secondary objective completion. In order to get an absolute victory, you have to get 400 victory points. Initially, you have 150 points. You can obtain 100 points for the completion of all secondary objectives, 25 points for capturing all enemy flags, up to 100 points for eliminating enemy units. For clearing all enemy units, you get an additional 25 points. The central column has information about prestige. You can see a detailed breakdown of how much prestige you gained or lost throughout the operation. The rightmost columns have your army statistics, how many of your units were lost and how many enemy units were killed in action. You may have noticed that your result is not the best possible one yet. The reasons are that you have not finished the secondary objective and there are still enemy units left undefeated. To achieve greater results, click the Return to Game button. So, you are back in action. You have a couple more turns left to deal with these issues. As all of your troops have already finished their turn, you have to click the End Turn button. Select the artillery and attack the enemy. Now proceed in a similar manner with your infantry and tank. Enemy units are defeated. Capture the hex where the enemy headquarters were located to complete the secondary objective. Brilliant. Click on the victory progress bar and as you can see, you got the best result possible, 400 points. Click on the finish operation button to exit to the tutorial menu. Good day, Commander. In this operation, we will go over the supply and infrastructure, without which any military campaign would not have been possible. In the previous part of this tutorial, we mentioned the key parameters of any unit. Its infrastructure is represented by various facilities, such as supply hub, maritime hub, supply point, airfield, railroad station, and seaport. Usually, infrastructure is marked by the flag of the country which is currently controlling it. Later, we will tell you more about every type of infrastructure, but first, you have to capture a staging area for further offensive operation. Your troops are already in position and ready to advance. Let's not keep the enemy waiting. Select the tank and attack the anti-aircraft gun defending the airfield. Great, now follow up with the infantry attack to finish it off. airfield is now left unprotected. Move the infantry inside and capture it. When you defeat the enemy unit in close combat, you can occupy its position regardless of your remaining movement points. The airfield has been captured. Now we can move our aircraft units here. The airfield provides supply to aircraft units, restoring their ammo and fuel on every landing. Additionally, aircraft units can acquire new equipment and be reinforced while landed on an airfield. We'll get back to it in another part of the tutorial. Now you have to capture the supply point near the airfield. Use aircraft units for ground troops. Select the bomber and attack the enemy. After the attack, you can move your bomber 1 hex away in order to free space for the next attacking aircraft unit. Do it by moving the unit in the highlighted hex. Good, now attack with the second bomber. The enemy unit is destroyed. Now we have to occupy the supply point. Use the infantry to make it happen. The supply point is in our hands. Unfortunately, it is severely damaged by our bombardment, so currently it does not provide supply. Open the supply point info screen by clicking on it with the middle mouse button. As you can see, all infrastructure has its own HP. If it goes down below 50% or lower, the facility ceases to function until its HP is restored and is higher than 50%. At the end of every turn, all infrastructure restores 20% HP. Close the info screen and select the supply point. This is the supply zone of the selected infrastructure facility, marked with the box icons on the hex grid. Currently, they are red in color as the supply point is damaged and not functioning, thus there's no supply right now. In a 1 hex range around the selected infrastructure, there is a service zone, marked with the wrench icons. In these hexes, your units can acquire or change equipment and be reinforced. However, in our case, even after restoring its HP, the supply point will not provide supply, as it is not connected to the supply network. The supply network is all the interconnected infrastructure on the map. Supply hubs and maritime hubs play a key role in the supply network. While supply points just redistribute the ammo and fuel to the nearby troops, the supply hubs generate ammo and fuel, providing the whole supply network with it. Maritime hubs work similarly, but only if there's a seaport under your control next to it. Consequently, without the connection to a supply or maritime hub, the supply points have nothing to redistribute to your troops. You can also see the connections between the different elements of infrastructure marked with supply lines. These lines connect all infrastructure facilities to the supply or maritime hubs. If the opponent cuts off the supply line, then a cut-off supply point or airfield ceases to provide supply. To cut off the supply line, it is enough to put your unit on any of the hexes it passes through, or any of the hexes adjacent to them, which will block it with the unit's zone of control. To land your aircraft units on the airfield, select each of them and click on the landing button in the Unit Actions panel. Click on the End Turn button. Select the tank unit. In order to restore the supply, you have to capture the enemy seaport along with the maritime hub. First, however, cut off the enemy infantry at the eastern outpost from the supply. Select the supply point of the eastern outpost.